All right, hello, Sooner Nation. Surprise, surprise. We made an NCAA tournament. Who would have
We're in,
thought it?
baby. We're dancing.
Going into the SEC tournament, we were like, we're iffy. Well, we won our last game, and they're like, OU, basically, they're in after they beat Texas. Well, then it's like, well, if they beat Georgia, I'm like, they just kept, so I was like, now, if they beat Kentucky, then they're really in. So, I don't know,
But,
we'll start there.
props to CBS for making us wait until the last region, because I'm like, we freaking don't get in. I swear. Good Lord. So I'm seeing all these people in. And, and I'm like, okay, like I haven't seen Arkansas in either. And I know, like, we did beat Arkansas. We should be ahead of them on the bubble pecking order. But Arkansas did finish a little higher than us in the SEC. And I'm like, man, if we don't get in, then I'm like, oh, yay, we're in. And then I was like, oh, crap, it's UConn. Nothing like drawing the, two-time defending national champions. But, we're in the dance. That's what matters. And, congratulations to the Sooners, Porter, everybody. At least we're back in. We're back having some fun on the show. It'll be fun one of these days to worry just about what seed you are and not whether you're in or not. But, good deal all around that we are in.
Yeah. And getting a 9 seed shows you like we were pretty firmly in.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
I saw some people on Twitter trying to do a little. Jeremy kind of laughed at me and he texted, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to go ahead? When do you want to do the pod?" And I was like, "Okay, give me about 15 minutes. I want to do a little research on some stuff." And Jeremy kind of chuckled at that. But I guess one nugget of research I saw an exchange between George Stoya and Barstool Louisville, and Barstool Louisville is like, how in the world is an Oklahoma team that went under 500 in their conference get a 9 seed, and Louisville goes 18-2 in their conference and only has 2 conference losses, and they're an 8 seed, and blah blah blah. And then George just screenshotted the game where we beat Louisville, so I thought that was some epic trolling from George.
Flip-flop Louisville to the SEC and us in the ACC.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the comparisons in the conference. Louisville finished second in the ACC. We beat them. Michigan wins the Big Ten conference tournament. We beat them. So Arizona, I think, made the finals of the Big 12 tournament. We beat them. And I do think those non-conference games did allow us to get in, because I think if it was just truly on conference merit alone, then maybe we're not in, or maybe we are in a first 4 game. But
yeah,
while I do still have qualms with how it was handled and peaking too early and all that, those, being the studs of November did get us in a tournament in March.
Well, and also too, 14 SEC teams. I think they said that's a record for most teams from one conference. So that should tell you one thing. I mean, and really, we hammered Porter Moser and his OU basketball team during conference play. But what do you want as a basketball team? You want to be playing your best basketball going into the tournament. And they are. I mean, you look at it, if we don't play anybody other than OA and Kentucky, those are 2 more wins. I mean, OA, I don't know what we've done to that man, but I don't want to see him anymore. So
no, him or Brandon Garrison. Brandon Garrison never even did anything to OU except take recruiting visits, and he seems to despise the Sooners with the passion of 1,000 suns. But kind of a funny thing here. I was talking with my nephew Reed the other day, and it's like the SEC was formed to be the football super conference. And by accident, they became the super conference in everything but football. We might win the national championship this year in everything but football. Dominant in basketball, dominant in stickball, things going on right now too. So, like Jeremy said, 14 SEC teams are in, and we're not the lowest seeded of them. So great news for Sooner basketball. Texas got in, so maybe that means that Coach Terry will get an extension. Sign him now, guys. I heard like Indiana is looking into him. Lots of other schools. You need to sign him. Lock him up now.
Well, don't you? When I saw Texas was in the play-in game, I'm like, all right, we're in. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way.
I mean, I
But
kind of figured they were going to do that, wait until the last region. So people are like, okay, this isn't going to happen again, is it? Because I remember last year watching that bracket, and I'm like, holy crap, we're not making it. And for the whole time, I was thinking, we're getting in. I know
yeah,
we'll at least
well,
get in.
and this is obviously an OU pod, but if anyone wonders anything about what the NCAA is all about, anyone who's surprised that North Carolina and Texas made it, you haven't been paying attention. Yeah. The answer to all your questions is money. Okay.
Yep.
They wanted them in there. They want that money in the tournament. And it's not a coincidence that those two teams, those huge brands, are in the NCAA tournament. But speaking of being in the tournament, let's talk a little bit about UConn. UConn's 23-10. But three of those losses, if you remember, they lost 3 games in the Maui Invitational. A team that started the year off really, really good, went out to Maui, lost 3 games. Danny Hurley is maybe one of the poorest losers I've ever met on planet Earth. And he's probably not even a great winner either. Lots of viral things this year, whether it's yelling at the referee, I'm the best, look at me, I'm the best coach in the effing game, or going off the floor. I think it was in a loss to Xavier where he's holding up his hands like 2 rings,
Yeah.
2 rings. He's a psychopath. If you haven't watched the E60, the other Hurley, it's worth that's worth a DVR or a going on ESPN app and checking that out. He's a straight psychopath. So we got that to look forward to coming up this week too.
I'm like, if you get pissed off about Kentucky being how cocky they were and Auburn the way they were, I'm like, let me introduce you to Hurley.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a guy that you wish would never won a national championship? There's your guy, because
and he will.
Yeah, and he will live with that like for the rest of his life. He can never make the NCAA tournament, and he's gonna be like
2 rings,
two of these suckers. So I mean, all we ever wanted, and it's the same thing we said when we had Trey Young, is just make it to the party, and crazy things happen in March at the NCAA tournament. So,
and I mean, great players make great March runs. I mean, the Jeremiah Fears that we saw in the SEC tournament is the kind of guy that can get on a roll, and that's what we need. And maybe it's one of those nights. I mean, look, guys, Porter has done really well against teams like the first time we play them. Okay. And that's kind of back to we're in that non-conference, kind of thing here. And that doesn't mean that Hurley's not going to go scout it up. He's a great coach, and they're going to have a game plan. And, it kind of scares me that they've got 6'10", 6'8", 6'7", or 3 of their 4 best players. But at the same time, it's not anything we haven't seen before. And that is another benefit of playing in the SEC is we're not going to see, whether it's Terrace Reed or Alex Caravan, whoever it is, whatever they try to bump it inside, those guys are not going to be better than what we've seen before. And, I just think there's an advantage. There's an advantage to that. And, there's some chip on their shoulderness to like Fears kind of has played with some crap in his neck lately of like, I want to be the best dude. I mean, I appreciated him kind of going toe to toe, whether it was Oweh or, some of the Georgia guards in the game before that, or, kind of taking it personal in the Texas game of who's the best freshman. I kind of like that side of him. And that's a side that can, maybe go win a game, or, Florida beat the ever living crap out of us the last time we played. And that was right after we lost LSU. Maybe we get them again in round 2, and, you never know. But
and that's what I was about to say is, let's say we do get past UConn. Like, we're playing a team we've seen before. They have beat the life out of us and had fun doing it. Like, I think Eddie and them were talking about it. They said, when we played that game, it started at 6 and it was over at 6:20. So, I mean, we were never in that basketball game.
But, if you look at that, I think there's some advantage in that for Oklahoma too, because, Florida's a bunch of college kids, as everybody except Auburn is. And most Florida kids know they beat the ever-living crap out of OU.
Mm-hmm.
If they see OU win that game, there's no, respect or concern about winning the OU game. They're going to be looking on to play in Maryland or whoever that might be in the Sweet 16. I do kind of like OU's chances if they could sneak past UConn, just for the simple fact of, Florida's not going to be real motivated for that game. They're just not. And as good as Florida has been playing, and they're playing great, just won the SEC tournament and all that, kind of. And I don't have all these stats right here in front of me, but people who win conference tournaments don't often fare well in NCAA tournaments because of they played longer, they played more games. For whatever reason, that math doesn't usually work out. So, trying to put on the old crimson color glasses, but do like some of the things there for the Sooners.
No, I do too. And the thing is when you play in a conference like the SEC was this year, was historically now going down as probably one of the best conferences in college basketball history after getting 14 teams in. Sometimes they can cannibalize each other during the regular season. So by the time you get to the tournament, you're so beat up. It's kind of like Ryan said that one pod is one reason that Porter's had problems is their non-conference has been so tough that they've beat themselves up that they're not ready for conference play.
Right.
And so hopefully we look at that a little bit more when we start looking at non-con.
Well, and too, Jeremy, we're going to have a week off from when we play. We got beat out on Thursday night. We're going to play again the next Thursday. We've got some times to heal up any bumps, bruises, that sort of things. Now, whether that means Godwin's back or not, I don't know. But, man, and let's go right into talking a little SEC tournament. And I already mentioned Fears, but to me, the biggest difference is Wagee. What we've got, whether it's a Ramadan thing, maybe he should fast. I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but maybe he should fast all season because it's been a different cat that we have seen the last couple of weeks than we saw previously. And it's kind of one of those games. My brother-in-law, about every OU game, will text me and Mike will be like, where has this guy been? And I'm like, well, Mike, he's been on the roster the whole time. But no, this version of him is not the version that we saw earlier that was third in the pecking order behind Godwin and Northweather, because right now he actually looks like an SEC center.
Absolutely.
It's we've been lacking.
It's glowing. You can watch him play. The physicality of him is night and day different than what you get with Godwin. And like we've said many times, that's not the role they were supposed to play. This is the role he was supposed to play. Right. When they brought him in. So, and also too, you look at it, maybe he's just now starting to get healthy. Right. Have we ever thought about that? Like the guy hasn't been healthy for a while. So he's been a difference maker so far.
No, without a doubt. He's been a true athlete in the middle. He's allowed our defense to be better. He's allowed our rebounding margin to be better. He's actually finished around the rim on some more stuff. Honestly, he shot the free throw even a little bit better down the stretch than he did before that. So, I really think that's a big difference. And we're going to need him, looking at this deal, Terrace Reed, 6'10" center, Alex Caravan, 6'8" forward. We're going to need that size because those are going to be hard matchups when we try to go small. You can't play more at the center against UConn. They're going to be too big. Hurley's going to run a lot of sets. So, but really, really like what I've seen out of Muhammad Wagee. It's just been really, really good in the SEC tournament and really the couple games right before that too. But, let's get to this, Jeremy. Great game against Kentucky. Great comeback. 7-0 run there to take the lead. And we got it right there at the end by pressuring. And Owe turns the ball over twice, bursts it up, gives it back to us. And then for whatever reason, we let him catch, go down the right side. Now, it was a heck of a tough shot, don't get me wrong. But he goes down the right side, gets to turn the corner on the baseline, and shoots a little lefty floater to beat us that we knew. We knew. Yeah. We all knew that crap was in. We all sacrificed sleep. We all knew that was going in. And, God, that just sucked. And the greatest players right now, SGA is probably the best player in the world. And number 2 is probably Otega Owe against OU.
If you put an OU jersey on the opposing team, and the thing I think that upset me, and this is easier said than done, and I say this as being a fan watching a game, but we didn't block off the baseline. But the funny thing is he shot a running left-hander fading into out of bounds, and we act like, why did we not stop that? Yeah. I'm like, that is the basketball god saying, I'm sorry, like we have to break your heart, but we're going to have to crush it when we do it. So,
I mean, the only thing I thought really, and truly questioning the coaching of that is we had success just really trying to press and trap to get back in it. And
yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. You dance with the girl you brought. That's what got us the lead. Keep dancing with her, seeing if that just goes ahead and wins the game for you. Or maybe you just get all the way back and pack in a zone in that situation. But whatever. Like I said, am I here to question Porter? 100%. That's what we've done a whole lot on this. But Porter has been playing better basketball now than they've been playing since November, since Atlantis. This is probably the best that the Sooners have played. So not going to go here and dog on him to death. But those people who want to come out here and tell me, okay, Goss, you were just completely wrong. They made the tournament, blah, blah, blah. Guys, it took us to have a lottery pick, which Fears is, and our best player from the previous year to come back for us to squeak in the tournament as a 9 seed.
Yeah.
That's not the standard bearing of Oklahoma basketball. We're better than that. We're happy to have it. It's better than the alternative. We're happy to be back in the tournament. But to say that this is like vindication, it's not vindication. It may push off the inevitable. This would be like if BV goes 8-4 next year. Okay, 7-5 next year. And that's enough to keep his job, but it's not enough to get back Oklahoma football where it should be. This is not where Oklahoma basketball should be. This is not the standard of the Ryan Spanglers and the Buddy Hills and the, and those guys. It's not. This is not the classic Kelvin team. This is not the classic Lon teams. That's not where we're at. We're happy to be back here, but this is not the destination.
I thought about this a little bit after we beat Georgia, and I'm not saying I ever want us to lose, but I look at it as how much did we pour in to beat those, which now it helped us get in a tournament, the Michigans, the Louisvilles, the, just some of those big tournament wins that we got. Providence, I mean, I count the Providence win because, to me, we fought. But how much juice did we use? Because I keep going back to what Ryan said about us putting so much into our non-con that by the time we get to conference play, it's very similar to what baseball is. Baseball gears for conference play. That's what they worry about. And so hopefully we start learning a little bit from this, like going to the old drawing board and saying, what are we doing wrong in conference play? Like, how can we get better? And I think that's one way to look at it is say, yes, we want to play good competition in a non-con, but like, do we want to front load it so much to where it's like by the time we get to conference play, we don't have enough gas to even finish the season.
I think some of that is, Jeremy, like, I think we probably need to play more people early on in the year too. It's kind of like every year since Porter's been here, there's been somebody who like, oh, we haven't hardly seen that guy, and now he's playing more. And this year it's Mo. In previous years, it's been different people. Joe Bamasill, I remember a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
There's certainly other people who fit that even better than that. But if you think about it, there's always somebody who has went from like being the 9th, 10th, 11th man to into the rotation. And it's kind of like, well, obviously, that guy should have been playing more. And I do think maybe like Porter, and like you said, you always want to win, but as a coach, you want to peak at the right time and you want to take that preseason to kind of see what you got. And like you said, I think Porter kind of does the deal to use the college baseball analysis of maybe we're trying to throw a guy on a Tuesday night to try to win a midweek game and then trying to throw that same cat again on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we're putting a lot of stress on his arm as opposed to just letting that guy start on Friday, see what happens in the games against DBU. Shout out to baseball. Speaking of baseball, big come from behind win over South Carolina. Good series win for them. And Jeremy, I know this is probably breaking news to you, but softball still has the same number of losses as they did.
Who would have thought it?
The season. But,
believe it or not, we are still good at softball. I don't know. So.
Yeah. And Landry, buy stock now. If you listen to our preview back with Eric Bailey here a few pods ago, we told you so.
Well, I told my daughter, I said, OU's got a dominant ace, not good for college softball, but
It is not.
also too keep an eye on Texas because Texas is still good. So, but 100% I agree with you on the baseball analogy because I do feel like we poured so much into trying to get these non-con wins. All that said, all these big wins that got us into the tournament,
we're not in it without them. So
without them, so
it's tomato.
It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So like I said, it's
get
just
better players, win more games.
Yeah,
pretty simple.
And really, like I said the last pod, we have some big men coming in. Like we've recruited big men. Hopefully they pan out. If we happen to look out and Jeremiah Fears says, "Hey, I hate millions and millions of dollars," and I come back, great. But Dayton's getting some valuable minutes.
And I mean, here's the deal, Jeremy. Porter's done a pretty good job of finding a lead guard every year, whether it's a Javion McCollum or a Grant Sherfield or this year's a Jeremiah Fears. We've done a pretty good job finding that person. Now, our frustration has been that person changes every year, but we're fine when that person's Jeremiah Fears leaving every year. You know what? Jeremiah Fears going in the lottery, that's a good thing for OU recruiting-wise. Yeah. That helps Porter say, look, you came here, Jeremiah Fears went number 8 overall in the draft. You come here, you can do the same thing. That's great. And he can also go to a transfer portal guy and say that. And I do think, I'm not going to lie and tell you I read everything on NBADraft.net or anything like that, but I watch a lot of NBA, a lot of Thunder, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners do too. Would I be shocked to see Jalen Moore on a G League team and with the chance to be a 13th, 14th guy in the league, a guy who's got a chance to make that? And that's something else Porter can help sell in the recruiting trails. Look, this is a guy who came back, who stayed, and now he's got an NBA future, or he's going to make a lot of money in Europe or Australia.
Yeah. Well, and also too, I go back to a lot of what Ryan said too, is gives us another chip that we need to start using. We need to start using our alumni base to get some of these big recruits because Jeremiah Fears, if he goes lottery, Trey Young, Blake Griffin, Buddy Hield, these are 4 guys that, I mean,
they're
not just like
relevant to those guys.
They are not small. They're not small names.
As much as you and I love to talk about Hollis Price or Mookie Blaylock or Wayman Tisdale, that doesn't mean anything to these guys now. But all those guys we just mentioned, those mean something. And, it means, and not to take anything away from Jeremiah Fears, but it means more to Trey Young than it does Jeremiah Fears. Right.
Trey Young is an Oklahoma guy.
Exactly.
He pours money. Him and Blake Griffin pour money, even Buddy, pour money into the Oklahoma program. Like, why would you not utilize them? So I feel like these are just certain things that we can, like, yes, we made a tournament. Great. I'm glad. But these are certain things that, how do we improve and build off of this?
This is one of those things, if I'm Joe C., if I'm Joe C., if I know I can upgrade, I'm still making the upgrade. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I am. But let's say that we don't. This is a conversation you have with Porter of like, okay, this isn't even the standard, but this is closer to the standard. This is the bare minimum of the standard. And he's got to, and I'm not saying that Joe C is listening to our pod, but hopefully he is. If you are out there, hey, Joe C, how you doing? But
can you spread the word?
But like, if you didn't listen to that Ryan Spangler pod and you don't think there's problems with that, you're not paying attention. And if Porter can't go mend those fences, maybe make some changes on the assistant coach's level and do that, it's never going to be successful. And that's not what any of us want.
No. And really, and that's kind of what I just want to see. I want us to don't be satisfied with just making the tournament. That's not OU basketball. Look at, okay, we've gotten the tournament. Now let's build here and see these next steps to where we need to go, because there's certain things that need to change. And listening to Ryan, I got more out of that just about the problems with OU basketball from that little pod than anything else I've watched on the court. I can tell you that much. So,
but okay. Well, a couple things I want to talk about here before we leave. First off, got to see friend of the pod and former fellow Hilldale Hornet, April used to be Haynes at the Big House this weekend. Got to meet her daughter, who was a Sooner Cast fan. So happy to do that. But also, this is going to be my 30-second rant on good riddance to the Big House. The Big House has been a dump since Jeremy and I were players. Even back before then, it's been the upkeep and stuff has just not been good enough. Now, we all wanted to make to the Big House as a high school basketball, and here is championship Saturday and all that. But let's hopefully the new Coliseum, the new Big House is going to be a better situation for all of those students. So last dance of the Big House was danced this last weekend, and hopefully I don't step on any toes with that. But guys, woo, it was rough.
Yeah.
Lots of power outages. Lots of, I know when I went to the restroom, I was standing in some form of liquid. Let's hope it was water. But it was rough, buddy. It was rough. But just want to get that out there.
What we always used to say, me and Steve's dream our senior year was like we wanted to be like it's championship Saturday at the Big House. That's what we always talked about. So it basically it was there just for just because of how long it's been there. I mean, nothing great about it. You walk
great
in there,
branding. So. Whoever started calling it the Big House, that was great branding. But I've been lucky enough to be parts of state tournament teams at the Big House, at the Mabee Center, at Lloyd Noble, even. And guys, it's not a great venue. We are sad for always history of things to go, and lots of great history, lots of great former Sooners in there as well. Saw Blake Griffin playing there back when he was a player, Blake and Taylor both. That definitely the end of an era there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the small school championship in Shriner Classic.
Exactly. Time for that to go. We also want to give a shout out to our buddy Nathan. Lake Hilldale Baseball hits the road to Gulf Shores this weekend, and they go down there and try to continue on an undefeated season. Any other shout outs you want to give, Jeremy, before we sign off today?
I'm glad you brought up Nate. He's they're having a special year. I want him. He's won a state championship as an assistant coach, and I think it's about damn time he wins one as a head coach. So he won as assistant, didn't he? I can't remember. I think it was. Yeah.
Correct.
So he is. He's built a power over there, and if you know him, you know that he is baseball. I mean, that guy is
baseball mumbling, and and Sooner sports. That's what.
I can promise you there is probably not a more smarter baseball mind than him. So he is definitely doing what he needs to be doing.
And Nathan, your field looks terrible. Go work on it.
Yeah, we only get 5 or 6 pictures of how great his field looks. So, I mean, he's like me once on
Jeremy, predictions for I guess we'll be back on here Wednesday before. We'll hold off and make NCAA tournament predictions. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's talk. What's my prediction for how far OU can go? We'll do that right now, and then we'll do the whole tournament breakdown. Here is my prediction. I don't think we can beat UConn. Honestly, don't. I just think there's too much experience.
Size and experience, two things that we, aren't really built to handle. But
this is probably a hot take, but if we do happen to beat UConn, I think we upset Florida.
Okay.
That's a big win. That's a big, that's huge step. Florida's going to come in. You think Florida's, the way they played against us the last time, not going to come in there thinking they got an easy road. So if we happen to get past UConn, I think we're Sweet 16. So that's
all right. Well, hey, I would certainly sign up for a Sweet 16 run. If you go back a couple of pods, that's what I kept calling for is if Porter makes the Sweet 16, I'm 100% good with the contract extension. So, I know Porter's like, I got to get this one for Goss to finally believe in me. So best of luck to you. And everybody out there, hopefully you stayed safe in the fires and the wind and all that stuff. And Jeremy and I will see you again on a Wednesday.
All right. Boomer Sooner.
Boomer.